and I'm the curator, and welcome to our speakeasy. So today, I procured us a book that I rescued, believe it or not, from a thrift store. Now, the outside is horribly orange, like horribly orange, but the inside is what I'm waiting for. So, in the inside, it's very grim. Yeah, I'll stop with the puns now. It's Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. So, in this book, there's a whole bunch of fairy tales that the Grimm Brothers have written, all compiled in. And so, I want to read one for you tonight. I'm also curious, because now I do have this wonderful book in this horrible covering, what your favorite Grimm story would be. I mean, there's so many to choose from. The Golden Children, the Twin Brothers, the Star Money, Six Swans, Rumpelstiltskin, the Turnip, the Grave Mound, the Three Children of Fortune, the Queen Bee. Let's see, what else is there? The Elf, Little Red Riding Hood. I forgot about that. Let's see. Hansel and Gretel, Rapunzel, Cinderella. Let's see here. The elves, the young giants, a whole bunch of them in here, and the Frog Prince. So, I want you to tell me which one's your favorite. I don't think I have a favorite among them. They're all very, very interesting in their own ways. I don't think I could pick a favorite right now. I'm sure if I sat down and really put some thought into it, I could. But I can't right now. Let's see. Selection. So many selections. Let's see. I have one. It's a very good one. And perfect for our little adventure of our own, at least for tonight. And it is called The Queen Bee. So, let's dive into this, shall we? Okay. Two king's sons who sought adventures fell into a wild, reckless way of living and gave up all thoughts of going home again. Their third and youngest brother, who was called Whitling, and had remained behind, started off to seek them, and when at last he found them, they jeered at his simplicity in thinking that he could make his way in the world, while they, who were so much cleverer, were unsuccessful. But they all three went on together until they came to an anthill, which the two oldest brothers wished to stir up, that they might see the little ants hurry about in their fright and carry off with their eggs. But Whitland said, "Leave the little creatures alone. I will not suffer them to be disturbed." And they went on further until they came to a lake, where a number of ducks were swimming about. The two oldest brothers wanted to catch a couple and cook them, but Whitling would not allow it, and said, "Leave the creatures alone. I will not suffer them to be killed." And when they came to a bee's nest in a tree, there was so much honey and that it overflowed and ran down the trunk. The oldest two brothers then wanted to make a fire beneath the tree, and that the bees might be stifled by the smoke, and when they could get the honey. But Whitling prevented them, saying, "Leave the little creatures alone. I will not suffer them to be stifled." At least the three brothers came to a castle, where there were in the stables many horses standing, all of stone. But the brothers went through all the rooms until they came to a door at the end, structured with 3 locks, and in the middle of the door a small opening through which they could look into the room. And when they saw a little gray-haired man sitting at a table, they called out to him once, twice, and he did not hear. But at the 3rd time he got up, undid the locks, and came out. Without speaking a word, he led them to a table loaded with all sorts of good things. And when they had eaten and drank, and he showed them each his bedchamber. The next morning the little gray man came to the oldest brother, and beckoning him, brought him to a table of stone, on which were written 3 things directing by what means the castle would be delivered from its enchantment. The first thing was that in the wood under the moss lay the pearls belonging to the princess, 1,000 in number, and when they were to be sought for and collected, and if you who should undertake the task had not finished it by sunset, but if 1 pearl were missing, he would be turned to stone. So the eldest brother went out and searched all day, but at the end of it he had only found 100, just as it was said on the table of stone, come to pass, and he was turned into stone. The second brother undertook the adventure the next day, but it fared with him no better than that of the first. He found 200 pearls and was turned into stone. So at last it was Whitling's turn, and he began to search in the moss. But it was a very tedious business to find the pearls, and when he grew so out of heart that he sat down on a stone and began to weep. And thus he was sitting, he came up the ant king with 5,000 ants whose lives had been saved through Whitling's pity. And it was not very long before the little insects had collected all the pearls and put them in a heap. Now the second thing ordered by the table of stone was to get a key of the princess's sleeping chamber out of the lake. And when Whitling came to the lake, the ducks whose lives he had saved came swimming, dived below, and brought the key up from the bottom. The third thing that had to be done was the most difficult, and that was to choose out of the youngest and loveliest of the 3 princesses as they lay sleeping. All bore a perfect resemblance to each other, the only difference in this, that before they went to sleep, each one had eaten a different sweetmeat. The oldest a piece of sugar, the second a little syrup, and the third a spoonful of honey. Now the queen bee of those bees that Whitling had protected from the fire came at this moment, and trying all the lips of the 3, settled on those of the one that had eaten honey, and so was the king's son knew which to choose. Then the spell was broken. Everyone woke from stony sleep, and he took his right form again. And Whitling married the youngest and loveliest princess, and became king after his father's death. But his 2 brothers had to put up with the 2 other sisters. That's kind of more of the more happier stories out of Grimm, I believe. It is quite interesting, though. I wonder what you think the moral is. Be nice to small creatures. You never know what grand things they can do to help you. I think that's one of the things, really. It's That's what I would bet my life on that. I'd like to know what you think, though. I think it would be just as good, if not better. I think a lot better. Okay, well, I think that's it for our reading today. So sit, relax, close your eyes, maybe. Just be good. Okay. Now you have a splendid evening. I believe